All right, this is my exercise demonstrations for the Module 4 assignment for the 1-month corrective exercise program for the underactive glute med, overactive piriformis, and decreased range of motion and dorsiflexion. So I'm going to demonstrate 3 to 5 exercises for each phase. The first exercise we're going to go through is for the inhibition. We've done this before, but we're going to do it again. We're going to isolate the gastrocs and the soleus. So we're going to foam roll in the gastrocs and soleus. Again, going over to a tender spot. You can isolate, increase the pressure with one leg, 30 seconds. Going down into the soleus. Again, tender spot, 30 seconds. Doing both legs. The next one we're going to do is for the TFL. Right here. We're going to go on one side. We're going to rotate. Go to that tender spot. Hold for 30 seconds. And we can go right into the piriformis. You gotta kind of lean sideways on it. We get that tender spot right there. So it's a little bit of awkward. You can't really go straight back. You gotta be kind of at a 45-degree angle. You know, get that. It's a little bit more posterior than that TFL. So you do that, hold that for 30 seconds, and do both sides. Then we go into that rectus femoris, so the hip flexors. So we're going to be higher up, more towards that ASIS. And I like to, with the hip flexors, really lean on one side. It's such a broad surface using a foam roller. I don't think it really effectively loosens and gets that hip flexor. In weeks 3 and 4, I talk about moving to something smaller. So I like to use a lacrosse ball, especially for like the piriformis. It's a deeper self-myofascial release technique, but for the piriformis, a deeper muscle, it really can isolate that piriformis. So again, rolling, you get onto that spot and just kind of relaxing. And you gotta stay there for a second because the glutes will contract and limit the depth just because it's painful. And you can actually also do the same thing with the TFL. Go to that spot, rolling onto it, holding 30 seconds. And we can actually also roll to the hip flexors as well. If that's uncomfortable, you can actually do a Sebastian technique where you would sit, or you can also stand and apply pressure. I don't like that because you can't give as much deep pressure. So for the lengthening, I'm going to demonstrate just a kneeling hip flexor stretch. We're going to kneel. We want our knee to be, front knee to be about 90 degrees. Back knee will be about 90 degrees. And what we're going to do is shift our hips forward. Keep that foot far enough forward so you can actually shift to get to that 90 degrees. Should feel a good stretch in the front. You can increase the stretch by reaching over. Rotating towards the leg you're stretching. We're stretching the down leg, not the up leg. We're going to do both sides. The next stretch I'm going to demonstrate is a standing TFL stretch. I like to do this against a wall to give you some good pressure to go into and really stretch that TFL. Sometimes it's an awkward stretch to find, so you really got to play around with it. The stretch, the leg that we're stretching is the leg that's behind. You cross your right leg over, so if we want to stretch the left leg, and you really got to shift that hip to the wall or something that's stable. You can use a pole, a tree, anything like that. And sometimes too, you can kind of bend that knee, rotate around, and feel a good stretch the outside of that hip. You'll feel it. So I like to bend my knee. I don't like to keep my knee straight just because I think it puts too much uncomfortable pressure on that knee and doesn't isolate a stretch. So I feel good TFL stretch there. And we switch sides. The next stretch I'm going to demonstrate is a piriformis stretch. I know in the book they do laying supine, leg straight, stretching the right leg and coming across. I like to actually bend this left leg. What I find is when the athlete pulls that knee to the other shoulder, they tend to go into more lumbar rotation. A little bit easier to keep those hips on the ground and isolate that piriformis by bringing that left foot up. We can also increase the stretch if it's hard or there's some pinching going on in that hip flexor. You can come around, grab the backside of this leg, and pull your knee to your chest. So both ways, depending upon, that's a modification if you get some pinching up in that hip flexor. So from an activation standpoint, what I'm going to demonstrate is a single leg bridge. This is a great exercise for the glutes. It's one of my favorite actually. So there's two different variations you can do. You can go cross leg or straight legged. Cross leg is going to be a little bit easier. So as they advance, they can go straight and make it a little bit harder. So what we want to do is we want to keep that knee at about 90 degrees. The further out, the more hamstring activation we're going to get. Closer in, the easier it's going to be. So 90 gives us a good neutral position. What we're going to do is drive through the heel, keep our toes soft, and raise up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, down. Up, 1, 2. Again, I'm keeping my toes soft and driving through my heel. We can go straight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just keeping that leg straight and even with the leg that we're working. Okay? I'm going to do both sides. 2, 2, 3, 4. Nice and slow and controlled. Isometric contraction at the top. Good. The next one we're going to do is a standing hip extension. So we're going to take a band. You can use a cable crossover. So we're going to stand up. I'll demonstrate with my left leg. You're going to stand on your right leg. We're going to extend back with that left leg, really focusing on that glute contraction there at the back, keeping our legs straight, and also kind of turning our toe out will also heighten that glute contraction. You'll feel the difference. If you keep that toe straight, you won't be able to isolate as much of the contraction. So turning out, really be able to isolate that contraction. So again, we hold 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next activation exercise I'm going to show is a resisted dorsiflexion, just with a medium resistance theraband. So this can be done with a partner, or you can use something to tie the band off onto. You're going to cross your leg over so it's up off the ground. Here will work, but it's not as effective. It's a little bit easier to get that foot so you can go through the full range of motion. And then we're pulling back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really focusing on good, controlled back eccentric motion into plantar flexion. So for my integration exercises, I'm going to demonstrate first a single leg squat. So what you're going to want to do is stand in a good neutral alignment. We don't want our toe to be too far out, too far in. What I usually like to do is you can actually get a, like outside of a tile, and you can use a good straight line on the outside border of that foot. So what you're going to do is pick up that right leg, and you're going to just nice and easy squat down, kicking that leg back. So keeping your hands coming up front. You can put resistance in your hands if you need to. And coming back down. Ooh. Maintain our balance, keeping that knee going straight forward in that sagittal plane. Go as far as you can, staying upright and keeping a good posture. Coming up, squeezing that glute up top. Nice and easy down. 4. And up. Squeeze. 1, 2. 1, 2, 4. And up. Okay. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to do a straight leg Romanian deadlift. This one, we'll focus on keeping our knees straight. We're not squatting. We want to keep our chest up in a good neutral position. So with our opposite hand, it's easiest you're going to go down and try to touch the ground right in front of your toe. But we only want to go as far as we can just before the knee's going to bend or our back's going to round out. We're going to keep our chest up, go forward, kick that leg back, and then come back up. Come back down, and then up. From the side. Good. Try not to bend that knee. A slight knee bend can be okay because you're going to get a good pull on that hamstring, but keeping that chest back and really pulling through, squeezing that glute up at the top. The last exercise we're going to do is a Bulgarian split squat. It's one of my favorite squat exercises. They have a Bulgarian split squat stand. You can use that, but you can also use a bench, a chair, whatever you have available. We just need to get our foot up off the ground. So what you're going to do, foot's going to be on the back, table, chair, bench, whatever you need to do. We want to stay out far enough to where we can sit down and that knee doesn't come too far out over our toe. We want to stay upright, okay? And we're going to really hinge from those hips and sit back and drive through this front leg. We don't want any pressure going through that back leg. Here, driving through that front leg. This back leg is just more for a balance. Good. Staying up tall, nice and easy, hinging those hips back. From the side. So again, you want to be far enough, hinge hips, so kick those hips back. Here, squat down, that knee stays in good alignment, and then driving through. Good. Those are my exercises.